Hello, folks, and welcome to the Crude Life's official video channel. I'm your host, Jason Spees. Please like, share, and follow this channel. You can also find us on our other affiliate pages on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, you can always find us at thecrudelife.com. Now, please enjoy this exclusive interview.
Adam Perkins, NVI.
Also with the Permian Basin Pipeliners Association. I apologize if I did not speak that correctly because I do not have my notes in front of me. It's one of those mornings. Mr. Adam Perkins, I appreciate you coming on, talking a little bit about what's going on down there in the southern part of the United States. You're in Louisiana. You've got a lot of people down in Texas. Of course, you're the president of the Permian Pipeliners Association. So first of all, correct me, did I get the name right on the pipeliners?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's the Permian Basin Association of Pipeliners.
Thank you.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel too bad. I get it mixed up all the time too.
Yeah, and I do feel bad about that because there's a lot of people that got paid a lot of money through the years to really make sure that name was correct, because councils mean certain things, associations mean certain things, as far as tax codes and whether you get government money, et cetera. So I apologize, but I did want to just point out a couple things. Number one, you are with the Permian Basin Association of Pipeliners, but also you have a private company too. Talk to me a little bit about your private company and what you guys do in the oil field.
Yes, I work for NVI, which stands for Non-Destructive Visual Inspection. Basically, what we do is we inspect the welds as they're being put together on the pipeline. And there's a lot of other things we do. We asset integrity on older facilities and pipelines. We'll go in there and we actually make sure the pipe and the welds are up to code.
And one of the reasons why we wanted to talk today was we wanted to use this ice storm in Texas and the winter storm across Shale Play USA for a teachable moment. I look at it as it's very easy to point fingers right now, especially at that awesome photograph of the wind turbine getting sprayed by a helicopter. Is just absolutely fantastic. Of a picture speaks 1,000 words, and there'll be plenty of time for the combatment of those types of things. But right now, we wanted to bring on the president to just kind of talk a little bit, like I said, a real teachable moment to let people understand why pipelines are actually deemed critical by the federal government. I know that it doesn't seem like it right now with the executive orders and some of the rhetoric being mentioned in the mainstream media, or traditional media. I don't want to call it mainstream media, traditional media or old school media. And so, Mr. Perkins, talk to me a little bit about pipelines and, just remind some people with some of the basics why pipelines are considered critical.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Pipelines are really critical. Just let's look out in West Texas right now, what's going on with all the roads freezing and everything. If we solely depended on truck and rail to transport our crude oil and our gas, we'd be at a standstill. Right now, I think there's very limited driving out there in West Texas, and even in the South Texas and South Louisiana, up north, a lot of these roads, they're conditioned. They have the people that come out there and salt the roads and keep them from icing. But down here in the South, where we're not used to this cold weather, where a lot of our petroleum products are transported, through pipeline or gas or by truck, when they close the roads down, we can't transport those materials. And so we can't get the product to where it needs to go to get refined so that we can either, one, heat our homes, or two, have fuel for our vehicles. With pipelines, that doesn't really come into effect. Once the pipelines are laid, not much can stop that crude oil or natural gas from getting from point A to point B. So that's it's another real reason why pipelines are so important to our nation.
Now, this is a pop quiz interview here because we haven't really prepped for this at all. It's more of a reaction type of an interview to what happened with the ice storms and the winter storms. So talk to me a little bit about the pipelines that you have in Texas. I mean, there's like hundreds of thousands or thousands of tens or something of pipelines in the United States. And I know Texas has got quite a few. And when I think of the amount of pipelines and how few leaks and spills, and you mentioned that you do investigative or whatever that was. So I mean, you're in day to day there. Talk to me about the integrity of the pipe, because that's really what the protesters are trying to say, or the climate activists are trying to say is the issue. When as we're trying to say, actually, the pipelines are safer. So we need to educate you people a little bit more on this. So are you following me? Because I didn't write my question down right. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, Jason. Like you're saying, talking about the integrity of the pipe and the pipelines. When a pipeline's laid, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just two guys sitting there screwing two pieces of pipe together, putting it in the ground and letting it go. The integrity of the steel from the manufacturer is tested, and then that also follows that piece of steel everywhere it goes. There's numbers that are laid out, so we know, if there is a failure or a bad batch, it has been tested before it's even been put into service. So a lot of times those things are caught on the front end before we have an issue. Now look, like anything else, there's going to be incidents, and with the pipelines, there's so many valves that are put into that line so that there is an incident, it's shut off as quickly as possible. Jason, there's almost 480,000 miles of pipeline just in Texas. That equates to about 1/6 of the pipelines throughout the entire United States. I don't know the exact number of gallons or barrels of oil that's been spilt from a pipeline, but I'm sure it's very limited.
Well, when you consider too, during the Play Hard, Work Hard morning show, we don't do any math in the first hour during the play hard portion, but we're in the work hard portion. And that's, by the way, that's 2.5 billion feet. So I can do the math on that. 5,280 feet times 480,000, 2.5 billion feet of pipeline. And when you think about at a time when people need that to get to homes and get to gas, in cars and et cetera. What you mentioned, though, about the flow of energy to get it to the refineries, that's why I wanted to bring you on today, was because right now is a really good teachable moment to not only use that photo that's just, the helicopter, using some sort of petroleum chemical to de-ice the wind turbine so it can work. Is to point out that, listen, at the end of the day, we need something that's called everyday energy, whether you call it all of the above, whether you call it a diverse portfolio. We're going to have Jason Modglin on a little bit later with the Texas Energy Alliance to talk about, hey, this is, we need all forms of energy. Well, my good sir, appreciate you coming on and giving us some teachable moments here this morning for the industry to go out and have some. Well, there's going to be a lot of conversation, that. There's going to be a lot of social shaming, a lot of arguing and back and forth. But at the end of the day, I think that I've been saying that, listen, man, we work in oil and gas, so we have class. So we're going to go out and we're going to use this as a teachable moment instead of doing the shaming and everything else. So I appreciate you coming on and being a leader, being somebody to talk about, let's explain why we need energy right now instead of saying, see, I told you so. We can still do that. There's plenty of time for that, but we need to have some teachable moments too. So I appreciate you coming on and doing that. So how can people, become a member of the Permian Basin Pipeliners Association of Pipeliners?
Yes, so you can go to our website. It is permianbasinap.org, and really all the information is there. Our organization is built to really raise money for education. We give scholarships out. We also donate back to the city of Midland and Odessa and surrounding areas. I think last year we gave back to the colleges over 50,000. It might even be closer to 70,000. That's what we did last year. So we're looking, hopefully we can get close to that number this year. 2020 was a rough year for everybody, including the organization. So we're really trying to stretch out this year. We've actually inputted a fourth event typically we've been having 2 to 3 events to raise money. So we went ahead and we set up a barbecue cook-off that we're actually going to have on March 11th at the Ector County Coliseum in Odessa, Texas. Along with, we have a golf tournament in June, clay shoot, I think September, and then in October we have we're looking at having a team roping event. So we've got a couple things coming up. We have a monthly meeting every third Thursday of the month. We actually canceled this one for this week due to the weather, so we pushed it to next Thursday, which I believe is the 25th. But moving forward, we'll have one every third Thursday of the month. And Jason, man, I just wanted to let you know, I really appreciate you reaching out to me this morning to do this little interview. And one thing I would challenge your listeners, and most of them I'm assuming probably know, but what I would challenge them to do is to, look up, there's all kinds of information out there on, when we talk about it within our industry, people that work in the industry, we just talk about oil and gas. We don't really tell everybody about all the byproducts that oil and gas brings to our country. And it's mostly because most of us already know, and we take for granted that a lot of other people don't, that a lot of people already know that. But what I would challenge your listeners to do is to share that information with people, whether it's posting something on Facebook or LinkedIn or Snapchat or any one of the other social medias, or even just, hand flyers out. I don't know. We really have to educate the general public on what we do and what our products serve serve to us for, everyday use.